Hello and welcome to another edition of the Gooner Ramble. This is Rick, hosting a few hours after the what I would describe as the miserable match against Manchester United. With me today we have Sima. How are you doing, Sima?
Hey, I'm okay. How are you?
I'm feeling about just the way your voice sounded. Desperate, disheveled. And we also have Clive. How are you doing, Clive?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm ready for a speech. I hope you are.
I'm ready to listen, and I'm ready to share my own as well. But before I get into expressing my own frustrations and things like that with the game, Sima, we'll start with you. Just general comments about the game as a whole, I guess, and then we'll get into individual players later.
I mean, I don't know if we're allowed to swear, but
We are.
It was shit. It was really.
Yes, it is.
The first 10 minutes, actually, when we first started, I was thinking, oh, this is looking quite positive. And then straight after that, it was just all a mess all over, literally everywhere, from the midfield to the defense to up front. Everything was just blow.
Yes. And your feelings when they scored against us?
Oh, God. The first one, I thought, okay, maybe Gabriel is still a little bit, uneasy. He still needs to get into it. And Theo Walcott, I don't know what he was doing. It's just, I felt like, okay, it's just one goal. But then the second one came not long after that. And then, even when Welbeck scored, I didn't feel positive. I think also because of the body language of the players, they just continued as if they didn't even score. They didn't do anything. So, it was just all negative, the first half and the second half.
Yeah, it almost felt like we were just looking for a draw at that point.
Yeah.
Nobody really. Yeah. So, Clive, your thoughts?
My thoughts. All right, May, you better sit down, right? So,
okay.
I think.
Before you get started, let's warn everybody. You got Chardonnay in front of you?
Yeah, right? I have, right? But
okay.
I'm not going to go crazy because you only invest your emotion into something where you feel that emotion's being reciprocated, right? So, what I watched today was not a team worth getting emotional about, right? Because we're playing Manchester United with about 10 injuries. We haven't won there since I had an afro, which is a long time ago, right? And basically, we have missed the opportunity to put them to the sword. I remember going there when just after the European game, where we had a number of injuries, a number of youngsters. They put us to the sword 8-2. We have an opportunity to put them to the sword. It doesn't happen very often. So we start the game sluggish. We get into our rhythm. We have the first chance, just like we did in the FA Cup game. Monreal's shot gets saved. First goals really count. We then go into a sloppy, okay, we're going to win this game. It's like an FA Cup game where we're the favourites. And but straight away we flipped into that mentality. We're the favourites. Man United are the plucky team with many people out. They can only win this. Whatever they do, they can only win. If they play well and lose, no one's going to kill them. They play well and draw, really, really good. They play well and win, it becomes season changing, right? That was their target. Our target is, hey, how about if we win, we go 2 points behind the team at the top, Leicester City, with a £36 million wage bill versus our £140 million wage bill. That's our target, but we find a way not to be motivated when it counts, right? So yeah, I'm a little bit upset. I'm not going to get overly upset. And everybody out there listening, right, don't get upset about this because, I'm serious, don't get upset because 4-touch Theo Walcott's not upset. That's what he did in the first half. He touched the ball 4 times for his £140,000 a week, our highest paid player, a wage he agitated for. Why should you be upset? You've got work tomorrow morning. He's tucked up in Hertfordshire, and we're the ones carrying the pain, right? So, yeah, I'm saying I'm not upset, but I probably sound upset. But I'm getting perspective over this because this is not the first time when the moment has arrived and we haven't delivered, right? So it comes back to a few pods ago, like Rick, we spoke about mentality. What is the mentality of this group? It's not about football ability. It's about mentality. It's about delivering under pressure, technique under pressure, execution under pressure, delivering when you have to. And I question that, right? And there's not a lot you can say that is going to convince me otherwise, right?
Yeah. I do feel the frustration. I think let me start by Judd was originally supposed to host today, but he had to run off, and I'm filling in. So he wanted to make sure I got in his line about Arsenal was facing a United lineup that had half the players with larger numbers on their back than the appearance category of the matchday program. And we went out there and lost to that team, a team that even with their best lineup is not as good as us. Starting kids, not in all positions, but starting a few youngsters. Actually, one got a brace, for crying out loud. And I think it's just so frustrating to show no passion, to show no aggressiveness. I think we were so passive. Just in general, I think all too happy to hold on to the ball, slow down and attack. I just couldn't get over the number of times I was screaming at the television, just speed it up, quicker, faster, faster, faster. And somebody would step on the ball, wait for a pass, and in that time, 3 or 4 more defenders were back, and they were good. It was just incredibly frustrating to see that time and time again. And I don't want to pick on any particular player yet, because I think it was just a squad-wide lack of aggressiveness, I think. They're too willing to stand on the ball and hold on to possession instead of attacking a defense, and it's frustrating the daylights out of me. I just pisses me off. Anyway, Sima, Clive talked about Theo Walcott. I would like to talk about Theo Walcott as well. I think, as Clive has phrased it in the past, it was another David Copperfield performance.
Yeah.
What do you think is going on with Theo?
I mean, like both of you said, it was a whole team. The whole team performance was very. There was no aggressiveness. You don't feel like they're playing Manchester United. Like Clive said, when Manchester United played against us, when we had a really weak team, they played to kill us. We did what we always do every single time we play someone who's weaker. And I think everyone was aware from the beginning that we were going to be playing a United side that has 12 or 10 injured players or however much it was. So we really took it easy, and that was how Theo was playing as well. And I remember throughout, in the beginning of the game, I was telling my brother, we have so much pace right now, in terms of the actual players, but I see zero pace whatsoever on the pitch because, we had Theo, we had Welbeck, we had Alexis, and Ramsey and Ozil. How much more pace can you have going forward? And it was just not there. Everything was just so, as if they're playing, on the streets with their friends, oh, whatever, I lost the ball, it's okay. It was really dull, and I think it wasn't just Theo, although Theo was one of the biggest problems for me, but it kind of, everyone rubbed off on each other. I remember there was a period when Alexis Sanchez everyone kept saying Alexis Sanchez was carrying the team on his shoulders, but at that time, I used to feel like, no, Alexis Sanchez is contagious, and he's kind of giving that, that passion, that inspiration to the rest of the team. And right now, when Alexis Sanchez is also really down, the rest of the team is really down as well. I'm not saying it's just Alexis Sanchez, but I'm just saying as a whole. And I think that is also how Theo Walcott would take it. Okay, everyone else is a bit, so why should I be the one who's making the difference? Especially if I'm starting ahead of Giroud, who's always fighting every single game, even if he gets so much criticism. I don't know what is going on with Theo Walcott, but he got the start ahead of Campbell as well. Campbell has been playing really, really well recently. So I don't know why. He has no reason not to be playing with more passion.
That's true. Matter of fact, we had a few listener questions. One of them about, was what has happened to Theo? Has his bottle gone since his knee injury? He never takes anyone on for pace. Is he scared to get injured? And that was from at Nikki G. Wilson. Clive, do you think that his knee injury is playing a role in what's going on with Theo?
No, I don't think so, right? When Theo was played against Leicester, when we won 5-2 and he played brilliant, No one's talking about his knees, right? I always talk about the collective mentality, and I'm going to say something, right? I actually think Theo's lost half a yard of pace. I don't think he's got confidence in his speed anymore. I just don't think he's as quick. So Theo, without proactive movement and raw pace, I mean, he's still quick, but he was the fastest player in the league. I don't feel that anymore when I watch him. I don't look at him and think you can travel long distances. I think he can still burst over 5 to 10 yards, but beyond that, I don't see that 15, 20, 25 yards run. I don't feel that. And so what he does, he runs with it for a few yards, and he's looking for a wall pass. I mean, on the first goal, as he was dribbling that out, you just thought you're running into danger. You're running into danger, and you could feel it coming. The moment he lost it, they popped it out wide, straight back into the box. It fell to their golden boy at the moment. He got lucky. It dropped to him. He side-footed it on target, goal. Right, and that's not the first time Theo's run a ball out of defence. And what happens is, they always talk about, when you're a player, they talk about psychology. Psychology from defence to attack. Once you win it, what do you do in the first 2 seconds? First 2 passes. It's about first 2. They call it regain, retain. You regain it, you must retain it. What Theo does is, I'm not sure what to do, so I'll just run very, very fast and see what happens. And he's run very, very fast into trouble. His teammates have trusted him. They've pushed up to transition. He's lost it, and then we become isolated one-on-one in wide areas. It's schoolboy stuff, right? And I don't want to criticise him. I'm going to, but I don't want to. Not just about him. I'm a big believer in. You've heard me say it before. It's like any of us now who've got jobs. The guys at the top who earn money, the real guys, the bosses, the directors, the managing directors at work. They earn money, but they have a level of accountability in their roles, right? So maybe their shelf life may not be as long as some of the guys lower down the chain, but they have to earn. They have to show. They have to deliver. Otherwise, it's visible to all. What worries me about Theo is, and what worries me about a lot of English players who get that English premium, is that he's got the money, but he's not accountable. And what's happened today is, and what's happened that we can all find out within 10 minutes of the game, how many touches, how many passes, how many take-ons, how many shots. We all know. I can quote them, right? 67% pass completion, 0 take-ons, 0 shots, 0 chances created, 0 crosses. There you go. Done. There's no hiding place. Everybody knows what their eyes have told them. He is totally ineffective. And there needs to be a level of accountability with that. He's been at the club for 10 years, right? It's not all about him today. But that is, there's a few more like that in the team. There's a few more like that are just not showing up. And I really feel for the manager who said, I'm going to drop my top scorer. I'm going to play you, Theo. And I'm going to hope you're going to do something. And he did nothing. He did 0.
And you would think that Theo would be out there to prove something because he hasn't been starting every game. So I don't understand why he was not motivated to succeed.
But he's not the only one. He isn't the only one, right?
No, not alone.
He's not the only one. You know what? The only one I give half a break to is Gabriel, who took half an hour to warm up. By the time he's warmed up, we're 2-0 down, and you could say the 2 goals he has something to do with, right? But he hasn't played for 3 weeks. He's injured. The rest of them have been there, right? So where was Aaron Ramsey? Where was Alexis Sanchez? I mean, we have all invested a lot of emotion in him. 26 goals last year. What's it, 8 this year? It's just not there. That's a huge miss. Right, his passing's atrocious. His ball retention's atrocious. I don't care what his name is. It doesn't matter, right? He's our second highest bought player. He's just not doing anything. He's a shell. He's a shell of himself, right? So we've dropped off a cliff at completely the wrong time. And I said earlier, I goes, don't get upset. I might sound upset. But I'm actually just saying the obvious. This is all obvious, what I've just said. he's dropped off at the wrong time. So I'm not going to get upset because they're not upset. And if they were upset, they would have reacted differently on the pitch today.
Can I add something on Theo? Sorry.
Sure, you go ahead.
I realized one thing about Theo Walcott. I mean, there's, like, for example, we had competition between Gibbs and Monreal. We had competition between, okay, I'm not going to say Coquelin and Flamini, but we have competitions in different positions. But then Theo Walcott, I realized he doesn't work well with competition because whenever there's whenever he's not the main man, you can see he does not have confidence, and that's when he stops scoring goals. That's when he starts going for, stops running forward, stops defending. But I mean, I don't know if you remember, there was a season right after Van Persie left. Theo Walcott was our top scorer, and he was doing really well, and the goals were just coming so naturally, and we were thinking, oh, he's a great finisher. Right now, he's not even he can't even do that, and I feel like for him, he's one of those players that with competition, he actually loses confidence rather than, tries to play better. Whereas, for example, like Giroud, when he gets on the bench, when he comes back, like when the beginning of the season, he actually came back so much stronger. He's scoring goals every single game, trying his best, fighting for the team. But with Theo Walcott, it's just like, okay, you know what? I'm not the number one guy anymore. So, like, there's no purpose for me. That's how it feels like when I watch him sometimes.
Yeah, I think Theo's for somebody, if he's lacking that pace, as Clive, as you mentioned, if he just doesn't have that step anymore, I think that's going to be a huge loss for him because he's almost completely dependent upon that pace. He's not a player that has a lot of other skills in his locker. He's not, beating defenders two at a time for fun. He's not, pulling the ball out of the air excellently. His game was almost entirely dependent upon that lightning pace. And if he's lost it and he's not able to use it, I think we're seeing a very ineffective player right now.
I think he's quick, but where he's really good, his number one strength is his movement, right? His movement off the ball. Theo Walcott is a footballer that's better off the ball than on it. He's quite instinctive on it, but his off-the-ball movement is outstanding. And he was part of our passive front line today, right? So he was just so passive. He offered no targets. He offered no running targets. I wonder if the period playing left midfield, covering Alexis Sanchez, and having to develop the defensive side of his game to try to mirror what Alexis gives us. He scored a great goal against City, plucked out the air, no one saw it coming, bang, great. But I wonder if it's taken away his attacking instincts, right? So he's become a bit more rounded and a bit more average at everything. Whereas when he was hot, he was super quick and super proactive and super sharp in that 5-yard movement, right? So another big issue with Theo is, and I try to balance things out, right? So, one of the big things for him, the whole framework of the team has got to be there. And the brain of our team is just not there, right? The brain of our team is Santi Cazorla, right? He is the brain. He is the one that lays him in for a lot of his goals. If you look at his goals, Santi's the last pass, Santi's the brain. We have lost, in my opinion, the brain of our team. He could be our best player. Statistically, he probably was our best player when he went out. He had the most touches, the most passes, the most completed passes in the whole of the league. And we've lost that player. And since then, we've been compensating ever since. We've looked at Flamini. We've been talking about him for 3 months. He's played far too many games. We've bought a player in El Neni. We're waiting for him. We've discussed Ramsey many hours on this podcast. He doesn't control games, right? So we've got Coquelin just come back from injury. He can't last a game. So we've lost the brain of our team. The brain, the part of our team that brings the ball to Theo to allow him to move off the spot. However, right, football's not it's not a perfect storm. If everything's not there, what do you do to adapt? And again, I come back to accountability. If you're one of the top paid players, you have to adapt to a windy day, a muddy day, a rainy day. It can't always be the perfect day like it was at Leicester. The sun was shining, short sleeve shirts, Santi popping the ball behind you. Really nice. Ozil moving, Sanchez moving. Hey, it's my day. You can't have 2-3 days a season, right? You can't go through a game where you have 4 touches in the first half and call yourself a top level elite player. it's just not possible any longer, right? So it's just not possible, not sustainable. You can't con people. You can't con people. There are people come down the motorway right now. You can't con them, right? They've seen it, right? So you can't con anybody who's watched this game. So yeah. Even though I sound upset, didn't I, really?
Yeah, that dovetails well into the next listener question. I'll pass it to Sima first because I got a lot to say on this. Clive touched on it a bit just now, but Alexis U. Beauty, I think it's at Le Nicolai, asked, are we deceiving ourselves that our squad are technically good enough to dominate the midfield?
There was a point today when we were really, really dull. My brother told me, he's like, who's on the bench? And we were trying to name the players that are on the bench that could come in for someone. And we realized that we really don't have as good a squad as we think we do right now. And I'm not being pessimistic. We have good players, but with the way things are going, I agree with Clive in terms of Santi Cazorla. Santi Cazorla was offering so much that people do not realize till we lost him. And of course, stats-wise, everyone knew, but I don't think we realized how important he was as a player till he was gone. And as much as I love Ramsey, and it's just not the same. He is also, other than just being the brain, he's also he really is a leader. And I used to always feel like, if Santi Cazorla, no, he's always like the happy one, the smiling one, whatever. But he really is a leader on the pitch because he leads with the way he plays. And since that has gone, things have changed a lot, and that is really worrying that we don't have anyone to step up for Santi when he's unavailable, because he's not getting younger now. We are going to eventually need someone to start playing regular football, because Santi Cazorla is getting to an age where he's going to start moving forward in his life, and that's something that is really, really worrying me, honestly. Like, I just keep thinking, okay, Santi Cazorla is going to come back, but in a year or two, he's just not going to be available anymore. Who's going to be stepping up? And there isn't anyone that I can think of that can be as important as him, other than Ramsey, as much as I love him, I'm even starting to doubt his capabilities.
Yeah, I am too. I think if you guys were looking at the WhatsApp group today, I was talking about the fact that we're missing Santi as well. The frustrations I was expressing earlier about standing on the ball, not being aggressive, were very much created by my frustration with Aaron Ramsey. And I called it the Danielson effect, sideways, backwards. Every time he looks up, he sees an opponent, and he's not aggressive. He doesn't want to take that opponent on. He turns and he runs. And it was so frustrating. And maybe that's just not his best position. Maybe that's not the role his game is built for. But if he's being asked to do it because we don't have any other options, that is frightening. It is frightening that we don't have anybody like, Santi just with his quick feet can get out of trouble, can get around a person, can give you that security with the ball. Ramsey is too often just running away with it, and it's very frustrating. And I don't know what solution we have. Like you said, who's going to take up that role? But I'm sure Clive has a lot to say about that. What do you think, Clive?
Yeah. I can't wait for this, right? So, so centre mid, right? For me, when I could run, that's why I used to play, right? So when I look at centre mid, there's two ways to dominate, right? I call it technical security or physical security, right? So, and my issue with Ramsey is he doesn't do one or the other. I don't think he's physical enough, right? I think he can be pushed. He hasn't got a reverse gear. And his technical security is not the same as Santi's, right? So what Santi offers, he offers technical security and control. He doesn't do physical security, but Coquelin gives you that. Bang, balance, right? When Ramsey plays, what he does, he judges his game slightly differently. He judges his game by breaking. And that means the middle of the pitch doesn't give you the control aspect. So imagine that David Platt was on TV today. So just imagine David Platt as a footballer without the goals. He's very average. Imagine Frank Lampard without the goals. 20 goals a season for 5 seasons straight. But if you think back to how he played, he was just steady. He was one-paced. He wasn't great. Yeah, he had a good shot. He wasn't going to out-sprint you. He wasn't going to push you off the ball. But he gets 20 goals. So we judge him completely differently. We're watching Aaron Ramsey now. He hasn't got 20 goals. So look at the player. Look at his output. Look at his impact. Look at his influence. He's not giving you technical security. He's not running past people. He's not dribbling past people. He's got the worst dribble past stats in the league. I think only Cesc Fabregas may be worse than him, which means people are dribbling past him. So look at forget the name on the back of the shirt. Forget what he done in 2013. Look at his output. We saw a Manchester United player today. I don't even know his name, Rashford. It doesn't matter what's on the back of his shirt. His output was significant. He scored 2, set up 1. Done. Right? So we've got to start judging people on what they do and not what we feel about them, not what we care about them. Let's not make excuses for him. You have to have this partner or that partner. I'm looking at what he does. And what he does, if you're going to base his game on goals, then you need to score. If you're going to base your game on technical control, then you can't give the ball away as much as you do. And if you're saying to me, oh, well, he works very hard, look at his meters covered, I'm not having it. It's not about meters covered. It's about your dynamism, how you move people, how you drive people, how you run away from people. He's not doing that neither. Yet, everyone says he's untouchable. That tells me we've got a huge development opportunity in the centre of our midfield. A huge one. And people tell me he's the future. I'm not buying it. I've watched it. I watched it really, really closely. Sometimes, this week, sorry mate, I'm off in it now, right? So
that's okay.
I watched Bayern Munich, the Juventus this week, and I looked at their structure in midfield. They had Thiago playing the Santi role, right? They had Vidal playing the Ramsey role, and then they had Müller almost playing the Ozil role. Müller is not really a 10 like Ozil. He's not a playmaker. He's a killer goal scorer. Vidal just knocking people out all over the pitch, a bit like Coquelin, just detonating. And behind him, they had Thiago, the brain, the playmaker, popping it, moving it, setting the rhythm. We don't have that structure. We have Coquelin, who's trying to be Vidal, but he's trying to keep his distances close to Ramsey. We have Ramsey, who's trying to influence by breaking, by running, by moving, but we're too open with his movement. And we have Ozil trying to find his moment off of Ramsey's position. So his influence is inconsistent. That's not strong enough at the top level. It really isn't. It's just not strong enough. It's not got enough structure. It's too open. There's too many spaces. We're literally playing with 2 number 10s and a number 4. And I'm not sure we can do that at the top level, right? If you're really serious, when it gets serious. And so we got these names on the back of our shirts and we love them all. But they're not doing their job. The structure's not right. The balance isn't right. And it hasn't been right since Santi Cazorla came out of the team.
I completely agree. I don't think Ramsey is fit to that role, and I think our continued reliance on him is just going to continually spell disaster for our goal-scoring ability. We're not attacking with pace. We're giving up the ball too often, and it's that missing ingredient, the thing that Santi gave us, I think. But what do we do about this situation? Santi's not coming back anytime soon. And like Sima said, what do we do? Who else do we put in there? Is El Nene a solution? I think he's very similar to Aaron Ramsey, actually. But Sima, you already said you don't know who, so maybe I'm asking the wrong question. But what? Either of you, I guess. What do you see moving forward? Next weekend, is it still Coquelin, Ramsey, Ozil in the middle, or would you like to see something different?
It's because everything's happening all over the pitch. I would like to bring back Campbell for Theo. That's already something that would make a difference for me. I feel like would make a difference. I would try Elneny. We've only seen him in either cup games or coming off like today when he came on. But Maybe he could be better. I don't know. I'd like to see because I don't really know how good he can be. We've watched him play 2.5 times, so maybe I don't know. Maybe Ramsey would be better on the wing. I don't know anymore. I really don't know.
Yeah, and I guess I should throw in the question we did get from Adnan Salman about what has Campbell done to lose his position to walk out in the Ox? Why are we not playing players on merit? So, Clive, do you believe Campbell deserves his spot in this lineup right now?
I think Campbell played a major part in saving our European season, right? But I did feel he hit a plateau. I think he's almost become an assister out wide, and I think Wenger was looking for more penetration, more drive. He's someone that gets it, he comes inside, and he's almost like a playmaker. He's a wide playmaker, right? So, which I think is Ramsey's best role, by the way, right? So I don't think he can play in structure of the centre midfield, although he thinks he can. I think he's a wide playmaker, right? So that's where, I think Campbell has just lost a bit of spark. When I think back to Olympiacos, I wouldn't have said that, right? Because he was brilliant. But I can see why Ox and Theo and even Welbeck jumped ahead of him on that right-hand side. I just don't think he runs beyond enough. I don't think he penetrates. He's almost quicker on the ball than he is off it. He doesn't want the ball in behind. He wants it to feet. We've got lots of players that want it to feet, right? So, again, when I think back to Bayern Munich's structure, I love the way they have two wide men who are one-on-one dribblers. So what that does is that almost defines your midfield's role. That says to you, you must get it, move it, facilitate it into wide areas very, very quickly where we can create one-on-ones and create overloads. I love that. Our wide men, Alexis has become quite predictable and quite loose in possession. And on the other side, we have Theo there today mixing up with Welbeck. And Welbeck was much better. And he's been injured for 10 months. How can Danny Welbeck be our best forward when he's been injured for 10 months? That's terrible, right? We should be nursing him through games. He's actually carrying us through games. And that can't be right, So we've got some personnel changes to make. And Theo's been at the club 10 years. Ramsey's been there 8 years. They're not dead. They're good players. But do they have to win the league to be successful? Well, I'm not sure they do, right? They're both comfortable. They've earned their money. They're at a great club. They're well looked after. They play in Champions League every single year. There is little accountability for them. Aaron Ramsey's going to be dialing down soon to go to European Championships and be a hero for his country. And quite rightly, right? This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. He's going to, as soon as we drop behind, he's going to knock off. And so would I, right? So we're in a situation where the accountability is not high enough. And we need to look at our hunger index. How hungry are we to win? I've said it before. How hungry are we to win? I feel that the people watching are more hungry than the players on the pitch. And that really worries me, man. It really worries me.
But actually takes me back to Campbell. Sorry, but
sure.
I understand what you're saying about Campbell and why Ox and Theo and Welbeck would jump ahead of him. But again, going back to the hunger to win, I see Campbell hungrier than most players on the pitch when he's playing, and he is very tiring to defend because his build as well, other than his pace and other than how good he is, how fast he is on the ball, he's a difficult person to defend because his body is he knows how to use his body against defenders. And I think that is something that we actually really miss when we play with Ox and Theo, because they are rather small guys who are, they're a bit more, troublesome because they go around you and whatever. But with Campbell, he's more of like Giroud in the sense that, he will use his body and he will tire you out because you're trying to get around him. So I feel like we need that hunger. I'm not saying this is the ideal situation if everyone was playing their best, but I'm talking about right now when Theo is playing the way he's playing and Ox is injured, and at least we would have that hunger in players like Campbell and Bellerin, and we have a few players that want to win, but then at least that would be better than the players that are just there and not really contributing or doing anything.
You know what, Sima, you're right. You're absolutely right. I think it wouldn't surprise me if he plays versus Swansea. I think we've just lost something there. We've lost some desire. We've lost some execution. Campbell is what I call a post-up wide man, right? He receives the ball, back to goal. He's been schooled as a centre-forward, so he's comfortable with his back to goal, and he turns inside. We need to do something because everything the manager's tried is just not working, right? And he's not, and the team he picked today, perfect. Every one of them, right? I would have picked the same one. We got pace, we got transition, we got pace at centre half, we got no Flamini in there messing things up. You can't say that he's picked the wrong team, right? So he's picked a great team, and in some ways I hate it when it's too easy early on. Because what that does, that lulls us into a false sense of security. And I actually tweeted out, this should be 5-0. This should be 5-0 to us. If we're a serious football team, this should be 5-0. And we managed to lose. It's only thing worse than this was West Brom away. Right? So we managed to lose. How do you do that? Right? So when you're supposed to be going for a league title. And you know what's really bad? And these players, right, they need to wake up to this. They could be the first set of players to fall behind Tottenham in a league campaign for like 20 years. Do they want to be remembered as that group of players that allowed Tottenham to win the league or come above them? I mean, just think about that for a second.
Oh, I don't want to. Oh, God.
Just think it through for a second, right? Do you want to be that player that didn't work hard enough to allow Tottenham to come above you? Because I tell you what, Arsenal fans will never forgive them. They'll never forgive them if that is the case. There will be no hiding place. There'll be none of this, well, we're young. Well, we're not young. Oh, we haven't got much money in the bank. Well, we've got money in the bank. Oh, we're building a new stadium. Well, the stadium's built. You tell me where we go from here. Right? At the moment, we're just not delivering. And,
I don't know.
And those players, they could be labelled as the group. The last time I think it was 1995 or 1993, I'm not sure. But I think we had a double cup final year that year, last time we came behind them. We won the League Cup and won the FA Cup. So it did matter. We won 2 trophies. Right? This matters. This really does matter. And they're going to have to wake up to this thought real quick.
Yeah, it's very frustrating. I don't know what this team and group attitude is towards the attacking with pace. I know I'm hammering away at this, but the number of times I saw us change possession, go run at their defense, and people stand on the ball and allow Manchester United to come back and defend, and they did defend fairly well. And then watch them score goals against us where they did exactly that. When who was it scored that third goal, deflected off Koscielny's chest?
Herrera.
Oh,
Herrera onto Koscielny's chest.
Herrera, and neither Coquelin nor Ramsey was anywhere near this guy, and he's exactly the guy they should have been looking for. And why were they not there? Because Manchester United attacked with pace and did not wait for either of those two people to find Herrera. If it had been going the other way, our winger would have stood on the ball, Herrera would have came back and defended Ramsey, and it would have been nothing. And it just frustrates the daylights out of me. I'm just pissed. Where do we go from here? From a team mentality perspective, I know I've picked on Ramsey, we've picked on Theo, but it just looked like almost everybody was all too happy to stand on the ball and wait for help instead of attacking a defense. Clive, I know you coach. What do you tell players? How do you get them to have this aggressiveness, this audacity, this confidence to attack a defense that they're looking at?
First things first, right? I'm a big believer in structure and distances, right? So your structure, your team shape, and the player profiles you have in certain positions, they dictate your pattern of play, right? So like I spoke about Bayern Munich, I'm a big admirer of them because They have one-on-one dribblers wide. They have fullbacks at overload. They have structure in the middle of the pitch. They have a goal scorer in 10. They have a centre forward that's mobile, tall, quick, that's two-footed, right? Great structure to the team. I look at Arsenal, and we are looser. We are more rotational. We have highly technical players that are loose. They rotate, they move. We're harder to read. We're harder to assess, but we're also harder to predict. And that can be good and that can be bad, right? So when I saw that team today, I wasn't sure where Welbeck was playing or Walcott was playing, and they moved around, they rotated. Ramsey's like a second number 10. He's not a number 8, in my opinion. Not everyone agrees with me. I love him to play like Tony Cruz, but he thinks he's Steven Gerrard. Steven Gerrard could run. He was a power runner that could run 20 yards as quick as anybody, and he had a bang-bang shot. Aaron Ramsey's a floater. He strokes the ball. He's two-footed. Our structures is not what I call elite, right? So what do we do? Well, first things first, we need to wake up mentally. It's not about talent. It's about mental application. Right, so I wouldn't change many players because we haven't got that many choices, right? We're only missing Santi really from the first 11, and then we got a decision to make. So this isn't about injury. This is about how we apply ourselves and our mental fortitude. And right now, we've lost a lot of trust today. We've lost a lot of trust with Arsenal fans. We've lost a lot of trust with neutrals. They no longer trust us to deliver. I mean, I listened to Graham Souness, who really is a fan of Arsenal. And you know what? It's hardly worth doing a podcast. We need to just tape him because he's done it at the top level and he is absolutely scathing with our lack of mental aptitude. And he's 100% right, you know. And so we've got to turn it around. And football changes very quickly. We've got Swansea. We win. Then we go to Spurs. We could be in contact again very, very quickly. But we will know by next Saturday lunchtime where we are. And this team will be judged in the next 7 days. And it's all up to them now, mate. It's all up to them.
And Sima, I'll pass this question to you. I know a lot of people are very frustrated. They think the season's over now. What do you think? Was this our title challenge over based on today's result?
I mean, I wouldn't say it's over, but it is getting harder and harder and harder. I mean, if you look at, I don't want to say this, but Tottenham, for example, when they were losing 1-0, they were hungry enough to come back from it. And that's the mentality that we need to have right now. We need to always be hungry to come back from losing. And yeah, maybe we did it for 2 seconds and we scored 2 goals, but then, yeah, I don't know. We're not hungry enough. I feel like we're too comfortable seeing that other clubs are not doing as well as we expected them to be doing. So we are really making it very difficult on ourselves. And I'm seeing so many memes on this. People saying, oh, the Premier League saying, Arsenal here, we want you to take this trophy. And Arsenal saying, no, thank you, we don't want it. And that's exactly how it feels like right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, gosh. It does feel that way. Is it over? No, but gosh, it's starting to look like Leicester are going to be hard to catch. They scraped out another 3 points yesterday. Clive, how do we make up that ground? I know you just talked about we just got to win our games, but is there anything else?
You know what? Let's ask a different question, right? Do you think we deserve it right now?
Oh, that's even deeper. Okay, go ahead.
Do we deserve it? I love the team. I love the club. And, 2003, when we didn't win the league, I felt we deserved to win the league. We got done on Sol Campbell's elbow and then messed up. We should have won the league 3 times on the trot. I haven't felt we've deserved it since then. We got a bit unlucky with the old Eduardo broken leg. But you know what? It was still February. It wasn't in the crunch time. So, but I'm asking you a question. Do we deserve to win it? Can you think of a run of sparkling form consistently over a long period of time that stamps authority and says, this is our league? What we've done is enough to stay in contact every time a moment's come to really stretch away and be as big as we are, be as big as our resources. we've found a way to implode. We've done it at Southampton, and I dismissed that because we had a number of games with a reduced player pool, and Southampton, we caught them on the wrong day, and their form subsequently has really improved, right? So we got done, but I dismissed it. We had today. Today was a no excuse environment. Manchester United were weak. They were wounded. The players that had damaged us like Rooney in the past weren't there. They had no centre half. They had Michael Carrick at centre half and Daley Blind. They had no Smalling. I mean, this is it. This is your moment. It's a no excuse moment, right? So I don't care what anyone says about anything. Sometimes in life you have to deliver, and this was your chance. Fortunately, we've got 2 games in a week. We've got a home game versus Swansea. We've got Tottenham away. Just, I'm going to say the most obvious statement of 2016. We have to have 6 points out of 6. And that's just the most obvious thing to say. But there is nothing else that's going to mean anything. After that, let's see where we are, right? But we are reliant on other people tripping up. And you know what? Spurs won a number of games on the trot. I think they're on the top of their curve. They're now having to play as many games as us. And let's see what happens. Leicester now are going to start playing teams that are going to start sitting in. And they're going to now have to work much harder. So people like Ajoa are going to be more important because he plays closer to the goal. And Vardy may come away because he plays on the counter. So, you know what? First time Ajoa was needed, he's come on and scored in the last minute. But for me, I want Arsenal not just to win the league. I want us to deserve to win it because we're the best team. And no matter what sort of fan I am, at the moment, we don't deserve it. We don't deserve it. And that's the truth. We are not the best team because we are not delivering on our talent. And as a club, we're not realising our potential. As we're sitting here right now, we've got £159 million in the bank. And money's not my thing, right? But there are some people out there thinking, why don't we just buy a striker? And why are we not being as big as we are? And those arguments are much harder to argue against, right? So, they really are.
Yeah, so, and, Sima, I guess, 2 questions, I guess. One, Clive just asked, do we deserve it? And 2, since he brought up the money and the signings, somebody asked, if we don't win the league, can you see Ozil and Alexis leaving? That was from Haas_AFC, I think.
I mean, do we deserve it? Currently, no. That's the harsh reality. We don't. I mean, especially when you look at our players and who we have on our team sheet. And, I mean, I remember beginning of the season, every single person was saying Arsenal look dangerous, Arsenal look scary, Arsenal are the team to beat. And, I mean, we showed that for a very small period. We didn't show it enough. And now we're just, now with the players that we have, we're playing duller football and worse football than the players that we had when we lost against United 8-2. I mean, we always make fun of those players that used to be there and how we managed to stay top 4 with those players. But I think those players deserved better than what these players are doing right now, because what we're showing right now is with some of the best players in the world, like Alexis Sanchez, Ozil, Monreal, and still we're playing such boring, dull, annoying football. And we're not even playing football. We're just on the pitch, doing whatever is convenient in that moment. So no, I don't think we do deserve it. The second question, I don't remember what it was.
Summer, does Ozil and Alexis, do they get frustrated and leave?
Oh, I don't know about Ozil. Alexis, I don't think he would be leaving now, but you never know. His body language today showed like he did not enjoy being on this team today.
Yeah, I don't think either of them will be leaving, but I do think we need to do something to shake it up. We need to get somebody in that'll generate a little excitement. We need to shake it up a little bit because there was an obvious malaise around the team today, and I think they need to be shaken up a little bit. Clive, what do you think coming up this summer?
Well, why would they leave, right? I mean, seriously, right? Why would you leave Arsenal? You must be crazy. You don't have to win, right? You've got a beautiful stadium, got a beautiful training ground. The manager cosets you. It's like a creche. You never lose your place. Why would you leave? And I would like to sign a 25-year contract to that club, right? Honestly, I would. Because there's no accountability, right? There is no accountability. That moment's coming, by the way. As I said earlier, that moment is coming. I haven't been online much today. I only just got online late. And it'd be quite interesting to read things tonight and read what people are saying and read the reactions. I can sort of imagine it. But let me tell you something. It's nothing compared to next Saturday lunchtime if we lose to Spurs. And football's changed, right? The lens on players, lens on the club. I actually think fans are way more informed than they used to be. And they're way more intelligent and they're learning about the game. They can read, they can understand. There's more information. There is no hiding place. There is no hiding place. We can agree, disagree on what we care about. We have our favourites. I have my favourites, right? I'm not ashamed to admit I have players I'm really hopeful that can develop. Some people don't agree with me. And other players, I make excuses for them because I want them to seem to do well. There's an unconscious bias there. But when sometimes I step back and I breathe and I look at the club and I say to myself, are we owning our size? Are we owning our level? We're the 6th richest club in the world. We pay the highest prices through the gate in the whole world. Are we owning our size? And sometimes when I watch us play, we look quite naive. We look quite immature. We don't look like Juventus did at 2-0 down this week. They grew up, they manned up, they stepped up, and they delivered something for their home fans, right? And I want to see us do that. I want to see us own the size of the club that we are. And I don't think we do. And then that comes back to people within the club and the environment we create and the leadership that we have. I don't want to say anything dramatic, but people who question the manager are going to question him today, right?
Oh, sure.
And it's about the environment, the accountability that you have as a group of individuals. And I'm a huge fan of the man, but there is fuel to the Wenger fire right now. And it becomes harder to argue against.
Absolutely. And I know you mentioned you have favorites, and I have to admit, I know I've trashed Theo Walcott on this podcast today, but in the past I've always been a Theo fan. I've always said start him up top all the time, every day. So I have to own up to the fact that, I would have got that wrong as well. So I hope nobody thinks I'm just trashing Theo just because it's the fancy thing to do. I actually like him.
Yeah, I love him. Hey, mate, at Wembley, when he scored that first goal in May, Theo Walcott was somebody that made my day, right? Made my whole weekend. Mm-hmm. When that goal went in, it's probably the highlight of my whole season, right? And the levels we played that day were the highest I've seen, along with Manchester United at home, and Theo was playing in both of those games. But they're just fleeting moments, right? It's not enough. It isn't enough. It really isn't.
And we're starting to run out of time. I was going to end it, but that brings another question up. Another one from Adnan Salman, Adnan 2205, I think. We'll throw it to Sima. I'll just read the second sentence in his question, or his statement, really. We really lack a leader in the team.
Yeah. I mean, there were some games where I felt like, oh wow, we have a lot of leaders on the team. But today, I mean, that's one thing actually I was guilty of almost tweeting 10 minutes into the game. I was thinking, Aaron Ramsey looks like a leader today. And then everything fell through after that. So yeah, we do. I mean, that's one thing going back to Per Mertesacker and Gabriel. I'm one of Gabriel's, kind of fans. We haven't seen that much of Gabriel yet, but I've always been wanting Gabriel to start ahead of Per Mertesacker, but that's making me think now. I mean, when Mertesacker was not playing, things looked very shaky, and it's not just in the sense that, defensively. No, things looked shaky in our hunger. And I don't know if you remember when there was one point when Ramsey, who was he going to fight? He was fighting with someone. Who was he fighting with today during the game?
Oh, was that Rojo or was that Herrera?
It was Rojo. I can't remember. But anyway, I was looking at Koscielny, looking for him to come to speak, to come calm things down. He didn't. He came. He was the last person to come, and he was walking very slowly. Although I love Koscielny, by the way, I think he's one of our best players. But he's not a leader. He's a silent leader, yeah, maybe on the pitch, but he's not a leader that's gonna, make things happen and change things around. And then the only person that actually came and did something about it was Petr Cech. He came and he shook Ramsey, and I felt like, wow, this is what we need in every single player. And we don't have that. We have that in none of our players except for Cech and Mertesacker. And even Mertesacker is sometimes guilty of, falling, when we're losing, when we're not doing well. You see it in his body language. He's also not confident. We need more people like Petr Cech, and that's the only person that I look at right now and I think is a leader.
Yep.
Go ahead, Clive. I'll wait.
Well, he's our captain, right? He's our captain.
Mm-hmm.
And if anything could change over the summer, he should be given the captaincy and given the dressing room, right? On Gabriel, all Gabriel lacks is rhythm of playing. That injury was crucially badly timed. I think it cost us against Barcelona. I think he would have played against Leicester. He would have played against Barcelona. He would have played today. That little thigh injury has really been critical. The teams that we were playing, like Leicester and Barcelona, are very quick on the transition, and it wasn't comfortable watching, right? Today he was our top passer. He was our most influential player statistically. But what people remember is the goals we conceded, and could he have got tighter on the first two goals, right? In the second half, he didn't put a foot wrong. He was immense. If that boy's given his head, I think he's going to be a great player, right? And people have to see that, right? They have to see it. It's obvious to me. He's only 25. When he's 27, he's going to be great. People might say, 2 years, Clive. But to me, it's obvious. As soon as he gets a run, it's over, right? He'll be our primary defender. I promise you that. But he hasn't got that run. This injury was really badly timed, in my opinion. Everyone talks about leaders when we lose. They don't talk about it when we win. I talk about the club mentality. That's what I look at. And it's time for us to change our mentality, and I've often talked about a mental reset. We're trying to reset this club still from having to qualify for revenue. We're trying to reset into a team that finishes first and not finishes third or fourth. But we're doing it with the same leadership, the same management, and a lot of the same core players. And I'm not sure we can do it without a seismic people change, right, to reset our mentality. And I don't want to say it, right, because I don't want things to change because I've grown up with the manager. But I don't know what else to say. The evidence is cyclic, it's obvious, it repeats. Unless this group can turn it around, not for me, but for all of us, then the arguments against them are going to be, you can't argue, right? So this is it. As I said to you before, these could be the first set of players not to finish ahead of Tottenham in the league. Not only that, Tottenham could end up winning the league. And that's gonna crush a lot of people's careers as well as the fans' mentality, right? No, I'm serious. If I'm those players, I'm thinking, well, I'm done. I'm done here. How can I recover? How can I recover from that?
Yeah, it's unforgivable, right?
Unforgivable. Well, it should be. And if it isn't, then we haven't got the right mentality.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think we have the right mentality. I think today, I'll just say a little bit on this leadership thing. Petr Cech is probably a good captain, but it's really hard to be an on-pitch leader from the goalkeeper position. And yeah, on a good day when we're winning, everybody looks like a leader. But when things are going wrong, that is when a leader is defined. And we have nobody that is really lifting the team, providing a good example. When it all goes wrong, they seem to start sniping at each other. Nobody is taking charge, and nobody's following anybody, at least trying to take charge. And I think it's simply a lack of mentality, I think, and it's something that Wenger should address. It's always been one of his weaknesses. He always thinks he doesn't have to motivate players. They're professionals. They should motivate themselves. But when you're lacking the kind of leadership that we're lacking right now, I think it is up to him to step in and provide some of that. And it's obvious he just doesn't do that. And I'm just so frustrated today after that watching this game. I just keep rambling on. But I really do think we're lacking leadership, and it's not something you can just go buy either. So it's not an easy solution. You can't just go, buy a Tony Adams. It's something that just happens. The problem with Arsenal right now is it hasn't happened for us. And I think that's another impact on games like this when it goes the wrong way and heads start dropping.
I think, sorry, Sima. So I think we lack a reference point, right? So you look at a team and you see big people, right? So I look down on this team and I see a collective of talented footballers that could go either way. They could be the creche or they could be the aggressors, right? In days gone by, and I don't want to harp back and sound like my dad, but ever since Patsy Vieira walked out of the club, I haven't seen a reference point. The closest we got to that, in my opinion, was the centre mid of Cazorla and Coquelin. And I just haven't seen that reference point. Henry was a reference point. He was an unbelievable player that we could refer to, that drove the identity of the club. Wenger's moved towards a collective model, and I don't disagree with him, because if those reference points are injured, where do you go to? Where's your plan B? But I look at the team, and then if you haven't got a reference point, you must have a structure. Our structure's too loose. It's too changeable. It's too rotational. It's too flaky mentally. It's too flaky physically. It's too flaky technically. But when it all clicks, we get Man United at home 3-0. And that's the best I've seen, maybe ever. Right? So that's the flip side of watching your team, right? You get those highlight moments, but we're trying to win the league, and winning the league means you've got to be 7-8 out of 10 for 38 games. And we can't afford West Brom, Norwich, Southampton, West Ham at home. And now today against the Manchester United reserve team, they must be laughing into their beer tonight. They must be laughing at us.
I'm about to go cry into mine. Anything to add, Sima, before we wrap it up?
Well, yeah, actually, I just wanted to go back to the point on when you're saying motivation. We don't have the motivation in our manager. I think that's why we need someone in the team, like playing. When I mentioned before Mertesacker and Gabriel, for me, Gabriel any day ahead of Mertesacker, but I'm just talking about when it comes to pure motivation and pure leadership. There was, for example, Kompany. For me, Kompany is a great leader. I mean, even when he's not having his best games, you see how he's motivating his team. And today, I don't know if you guys watched the Capital One Cup final. Yaya Toure and Lallana were fighting. Again, another fight. But Kompany, the way he handled it was amazing. And then after the game, when they won, he didn't run to celebrate with the players. He went to the Liverpool players to console them. And it's just the way his attitude is. I think it kind of teaches the rest of the players, somehow how they should be acting. And I feel like we need someone like that. And that's why I mentioned Petr Cech before, because if we do not have the motivation off the pitch, at least we should have someone to motivate the players on the pitch. And I feel like we need someone like Petr Cech, like Kompany, even Mertesacker.
Yep. Now, can I say one thing on that, Sima? You make a great point, right? So I'll give you a little story, right? Just before Christmas, I was out in London at the STK restaurant in the ME Hotel, right? And it was just after we beat Man City, and the Man City players came into the restaurant where I was. And Kompany walked in. He's walked straight into the maitre d', and he's just like, as soon as he walked in, you thought, that's Kompany. He just oozed leadership. And then he arranged everything. All the players came in behind him. There was one leader in that club. The whole squad came in, every one of them, and they were just looking to him while he arranged things. And I just thought, what a great character he is. He's injured. He hadn't played for ages. He's barely played for the first half of the season. But there is no doubt about it. He is a leader in everything he does, right? And I try to dismiss leadership and say it's not important. You should own your own performance. But sometimes we all need someone to look to, right, to make us feel comfortable so we can deliver on our performance. So, we can't say Wenger hasn't bought players like Sanchez and Ozil and he's invested. Where was Alexis Sanchez today? Just where was he? Right? He just disappeared. And at the moment, just when we needed him, right? So that's not leadership. That's not setting the example. And we need players. The first things first, get the basics right. Get your performance levels right. Get your work level right. Set the example. Give yourself a performance you're proud of. And hopefully, collectively, we can find our spark again.
All right. Well, thank you. Well, I guess before we go, we'll start with Sima. Let's try to leave it with something positive. Looking forward to this next week. What I know I'm reaching, but what positives can you bring out with upcoming matches?
That is a very difficult question right now.
I know.
But, the fact that we just lost against Man United and that we lost against Barcelona, usually when we have these moments, we come back very strong, much stronger because, we have the hunger to win again because we're not doing so well, because we do much better.
I think I heard the lads say that after the Barcelona loss for this weekend. So
yeah, but
we're 0-2 now.
It's double. So yeah, hopefully, I don't know, hopefully they wake up. They lost against Manchester United's youth team, more or less, so I don't know.
Clive, can you find any positives looking forward? Or are we just all too depressed?
Well, we've got a home game, right? And we've got a chance for 6 points in about 5 days, right? So it's not lost. But what I want to see, I want to have this conversation in a week's time and say, we're now back, the spark's done, and we deserve something. At the moment, I'm not, okay, I may sound a bit more passionate than I normally do, but I'm not upset because we don't deserve anything more than what we got. And that's really quite sad, right? So that's where, let's be honest, we're not unlucky here. We haven't had an Eduardo moment. We haven't had a Sol Campbell moment. We're not unlucky. This is down to us. Right, and so we have to look at ourselves, and that's a lot harder to do, right? And I'm wondering if our manager is now so close to this that can he look at us, really properly, right? Because he's going to get a lot of focus next 2 days. He really is. We're gonna be 2-1 favourite Talk Sport tomorrow morning, right? We're there, right? So So this is it. It's going to be Arsenal, broken cannons all over the newspapers, right? So he's been there before, but this time the excuses are minimal.
So, Clive, I have to say something positive, and you got me fitting myself for a noose here.
The only thing positive is we're 5 points
there you
off,
go.
and the world is not over, right? And every single game is different, and it can change in a flick of a switch. A week ago, Van Gaal was dead, right? He was done. He was
dead today too. Did you see that?
No, he was done, right? He was done. It was over, and Mourinho was coming in, and that's it. 6 days later, he's won 3 games, and he's got the fans laughing and clapping down the touchline. Football can change very, very quickly, right? And that's why we love it. So that is the only thing positive I can say.
All right. Well, we all look forward to the next games, the 6 points we're going to get. Sima, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And yeah, sure. And do you want to give a shout out to your Gooners there?
To the Lebanese Gooners, of course.
Yes. All right. And Clive, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
All right. We look forward to podcasting for you all again, hopefully under better circumstances. Until then, as Akil would say, up the Arsenal.